Hello, welcome back to another speed build. So today we are renovating this house that was built by the user Voysey, and you may recognize it from The Sims 1. So I think they did a really great job of building this to look exactly how it was in The Sims 1. Like, this is just how I remember it, because I used to play with this house a lot in the first game. I think it was one of the more affordable houses, so if you had your Sims like work for a while in Sims 1 and save a bit, you could easily move into this house. So the idea for this was that this house had been vacant for some time in its old neighborhood where it was at 3 Sim Lane, and a Sim decided to buy it and move the house to a new neighborhood and have it completely renovated and put back up for sale. So the way I've kind of furnished this is it's kind of like a model home set up for display, so Sims can come through who are interested in potentially buying it and have a look around. So I didn't use like too many clutter items, but kind of set it up so it feels kind of nice and homey, but hasn't got someone living there yet, if that kind of makes sense. So any Sim family could move into here and then kind of have it a bit more personalized by adding in their items and bits of clutter or whatnot. But yeah, I can't believe that The Sims 1 was so long ago now. I remember getting it when I was in primary school. It was 2001, and my babysitter at the time had told me, like, you have to get it. There's this amazing new game where you create people and houses and you kind of play God, or you just do whatever you want in it. And she was like, you should totally get it if you are able to. And so I was just like, wow, that sounds really cool. So I asked my dad and he bought it for my brother and I, which was awesome. And I think at the time it was Sims Living Large and House Party were out, so we bought that as a bundled lot, and I just absolutely loved it. Like, I just started playing in the newbie family that they had for the tutorial and just ended up playing like that for so long. We just had like the one computer though, and my brother and I would fight over playing it, so there was like this rule enforced that you could only play it for half an hour at a time. But I remember one morning, like at the time I was sharing a bedroom with my brother because we just moved to a new city. Like, my parents had divorced, and so yeah, I got up one morning, I think it was like 5:30 in the morning. I got up, and like as soon as he heard me got up, he was like, wait, what are you doing? And I was like, just going to the bathroom. And of course I just got up and went and played The Sims. So like half an hour later he came out to the living room and was like, you lied, you were playing The Sims. Like, he was like jealous that I got up before him and started playing it. I don't know, it was just the greatest game. So I quite like how the kitchen area turned out. I go back later and add in quite a few things like a coat rack and side counters and stuff. I'm not sure if I do that on camera or not, but here, moving on to the living room, it's quite like a long kind of odd shape, I don't know, but so I divided it just into 2 rooms, and I started to make the smaller one like a toddler bedroom, but I ended up changing it to a laundry, because what I also ended up doing was adding on like a separate kind of house at the back that one Sim could live in, like a studio place with a living room and bedroom. So the idea is that the Sim who's like renovating this can kind of sell it as an investment property, so the family can kind of live in the main house and then also rent out the separate back one to someone and make rent off that. So that's why I kind of decided to make that little room a laundry room, so it could be shared between the family in the main house and then also the tenants renting at the back. So that's how I kind of have it set up now for my family living here. I have the inside door of the laundry locked for that particular Sim who lives at the back, so that Sim like doesn't enter the main house but can use the laundry area. So yeah, that was the long story for why I ended up making that a laundry. But yeah, you'll see that a bit later on, building that extra back piece of the house. Here we're just moving on upstairs. I ended up just like keeping all the original windows for the second story, and then dividing the room into 2 different bedrooms with a bathroom. Now, I watched the video The Sims released this morning where they were at EA Play and the producers were talking about the upcoming game packs, and they officially announced that Island Living will be the next expansion pack and played the trailer of that. And I think it looked really cool. Like, it looks like a very vibrant pack. I definitely like the look of all the CAS items. They've kind of got lots of colourful prints, sort of similar to Jungle Adventure in terms of like the clothing, which I thought looked really cool. Also mermaids being introduced to the game I think will be a fun new thing to have added in. I think they said that you can live on the island, so I'm wondering if it's just a new world that your Sims can just like live there, or if they could buy like a second home there, similar to like Sims 3 where you could buy a holiday house in one of the vacation worlds. So I'm not quite sure what it is with that. It would be cool if you could buy a second house in that world, but I guess we have to wait and see. They also announced, I think, was it a stuff pack for the clothing? I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Machino? I don't really know, but that, it was kind of funny when they announced it, and like before that the audience had been cheering to everything they were saying, and then they announced the Machino whatever it is pack and everyone was kind of silent. So I think people aren't really looking forward to that as much, which is kind of fair enough. I don't know if I'm that excited for it, but the only thing was that they said there would be a new career with it, which is fashion photographer, which sounds really cool, and I might just get the pack for that one thing because I like doing kind of runway videos and kind of fashion related things in The Sims, so if that career brings new interactions, then could make some cool videos with that. So that's the only thing I'm excited for that pack. Then they also mentioned that later on in the year, in autumn, there would be a Realm of Magic, which I think they said was a game pack that would be released, but they were going to give like more details closer to the time. So that could be kind of cool. I'm not so big on magic in The Sims. I did really enjoy it in Sims 1, which was so long ago, and I think did they have a magic pack for like Sims 3? I didn't buy all the expansions in Sims 3, so I can't really remember, but yeah, I think if they have it in a way that you can have it turned off or just for like selected Sims, then it would be good. Like, I don't want all my Sims doing magic or whatever, so hopefully that's like adjusted so you can kind of choose. But it'll be interesting to hear more about that later on in the year. But back to the build. This is the kind of studio apartment that's separate to the main house that I guess they would have like a tenant renting out, and I decided to keep it the same style of the main house, so use all the same kind of wallpapers and kitchen counters and whatnot. And you'll see like some of the items I've kind of changed around in the final screenshots because I play tested the house and some of the things weren't quite working where they were. Like, I think I put a pot plant next to that couch and then the Sims weren't able to sit in it, so I had to kind of like change whereabouts it was. But yeah, I guess I kind of got this idea because me and my partner's living situation is kind of the same at the moment. Like, we rent a back section of the landlord's house, which they had added on and designed in the same way to like match their house. So yeah, I don't know, I just kind of thought of doing the same kind of thing, and then we also share laundry with them, so I thought making the laundry in the main house having that exterior door, so the person living in this back house area could also use it, would be a good idea. So I just got back from Melbourne on Friday. I was planning to have this video done for when I just got back, but ended up not recording it before leaving. But yeah, it was my first time in Melbourne and I had a really great trip. I met up with my friend there, so we got to catch up and explore the city. It was, like a lot of people say, it's a bigger version of Wellington, which I could kind of see, but it was really interesting seeing like all the city's architecture, because there are some really old buildings in the city, but then like right next to them there'll be like a super new one, so there's this kind of contrast between really old and really new throughout the whole city, which was interesting to see. There was also a lot of like street art murals, like some alleyways. This one we went to had all this different like graffiti on it, and it's constantly having new work done on it. So I was kind of wondering, like, do artists have to be like get permission to do their spray painting on it? Like, because then they could just be like painting over someone else's recent artwork, or maybe, I don't know. It's just I was wondering about that. My friend wasn't quite sure. We ended up mostly just taking the trams everywhere, which were really convenient. Like, they would just come every 5-10 minutes and were really easy to use. My friend I met up with there, she's from LA, and she was like really surprised by it, or not used to it, I guess, because she said like some of the public transport there is kind of not as nice, and I guess it's just like slow getting everywhere in LA. So she really liked it as well, and she ended up like searching online to see how much apartments cost there, and was like, I'm gonna move here. So yeah, no, it's definitely a very nice city, but I think if I lived there I would spend too much money, because there's just so many more shopping options, cafes, like, yeah, I don't know. It would definitely be a nice place to live, but I'd probably spend too much. So here I'm just finishing off the build by adding some things outside. I put that kind of hedge through the middle there to kind of divide the two houses on the property, so I guess they get a little bit more privacy outside. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of throwback Sims 1 renovation. Shout out again to Voysey, who originally built, I guess, did a replica of how it was from The Sims 1. And this will be up on the gallery under the ID ModernMiss if you want to place it in your game. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye!